FLUFFBUTTS, it's me, FaolanCortez Cult. Is there anyone out there that has watched the show Make Your Mark more than I have? Well, there probably is, but I just like to brag. That is why today I have decided to go through all 27 episodes of Make Your Mark, including the specials, and rank them individually on a tier list. Ooh, how exciting! I've had this idea for a video in the back of my mind for a while now, and finally it has come to fruition. So, how's about we make a start?
You're live. Now!
Let's quickly go through all of the tier levels that I will be using. At the top, it is the best tier. Simply put, these are the entries that are unquestionably the greatest in the show. They could almost be flawless. Next one is the fantastic tier. Not quite the very best stories, but they still stick out being brilliant and genuinely beloved by most people. After that, we have the good tier. Likeable episodes that are above average and able to keep us firmly entertained throughout. Right in the middle is the average tier. Not bad episodes, but they definitely could have done much better. These stories needed to have a bit more polish applied to them. Next up is the bad tier. Below average episodes that don't shine as much as they think they do. They could be slow, boring, or just strange in nature. Second to last is the awful tier. Poor quality episodes we could have frankly done without. A couple of silver linings maybe, but not enough to make them properly watchable. And finally, at the bottom, it is the worst tier. The lamest entries possible, irritating and unbearable to watch. Let me make this clear that these rankings are my opinions. You're entirely free to agree or disagree with me whenever you wish. I encourage the discussion in the comments down below, so do let me know what your thoughts are on these episodes too. Now, without any further ado, let's start ranking! The Make Your Mark special. The very beginning of Make Your Mark, and admittedly, it wasn't the best start. So I have to put it into the bad tier. The animation is wonkily put together, and the characters were rather wooden at times. It's too sketchy to ignore. The musical number in the main melody is honestly a tiresome song. Even the full version on the album is weird.
Ugh, and I'll forget what's been troubling me.
Posy Bloom was a marvelous antagonist, and Sip Storm shines out above the rest. Without this special, we wouldn't have gotten the cutest dragon boy ever as well. However, a bare-bones plot with a sugar-rushed ending cannot save the first special from being somewhat dull. It is the weakest special out of the four, so there's that. Izzy Does It. The first episode of Chapter 2 is a nice step up from the first special, so I'm moving it into the average tier. Giving Izzy that adorable motor scooter is an aesthetic choice and a half. Izzy's conflictions with creative block were a joy to sympathize with, especially to the viewers who are just as imaginative as her. However, I believe that the Blocky Wocky special from Tell Your Tale has the superior interpretation in G5. Izzy Does It really falls short. It was important to establish Misty and Opaling's role in the story arc, and this episode does present their relationship nicely. All You Need Is Your Beat is a cute little song, but Pip's own creative crisis was sidetracked in favor of giving Izzy more limelight. Kind of a shame. Also, Sunny, Hitch, and Zip barely contribute much to this episode as well. Still though, this episode was a better starting point than the first special could have ever been. Growing Pains. In my opinion, this is the real first episode to Chapter 2. I greatly enjoyed this one, so I'm placing it into the fantastic tier. I can't comprehend why some people hated Hitch in this episode. The deconstruction of his fears over Earth Pony magic gradually decreasing during the runtime, and him eventually accepting his worth on the team was something amazing. Of course you'd be a bit scared over something interrupting your natural way of order that it's always been ever since you've been growing up.
What if I become the reason Earth ponies get hurt? As sheriff, I can't let that happen.
Hitch learning to lighten up to a brand new era was sweet, and it made me love him a bit more. Not to mention the Twilight cameo giving us the juicy foreshadowing, and Sprout Cloverleaf being the one to set up a major plot point for the rest of the series. I did not expect that one bit. Magical storytelling this episode was. It's really slept on. Portrait of a Princess. I believe it's general consensus that everyone loves this episode. Even those who don't have an interest in G5 can agree this story was a win. Portrait of a Princess is going right into the best tier. A Zip and Pip masterpiece that we deserved and received. The dramatic focus on their shattered sisterhood was very gripping with how much they get on each other's nerves. It's realistic in a sense to actual family relations and how people can be separated due to personal differences. Queen Haven's solo song Pony Love was cool, but Portrait Days sung by the sisters continues to make my eyes water every single time.
With you by my side.
The cinematography, the emotional plot, and how everything comes around full circle is seriously satisfying. No surprise why this episode became a fan favorite. Ali Cond. I wasn't exactly a fan of this episode initially years back, but recently I've softly warmed up to it. Although it's still not as good as it wishes it was. I'm putting it into the average tier. Sunny's identity crisis is fascinating to see unfold, especially with her horrific conversations with Opaline through the mirror. Those scenes are cemented in my brain and continue to creep me out. Yet all of that goodness comes at the cost of maritime-based citizens and the Philly 4 outright bullying Sunny for just being normal and not the hero they are desperate for. It's annoying as hell and takes me right out of the enjoyment. Pip's B story with Sparky is adorable and a nice example of cringe comedy, but it hardly adds much to the grand state of events that occur within. This is an okay episode if you grit your teeth and just bear through it. The Cutie Mark Mix-Up. This is the most underrated episode in Chapter 2, and I solidly stand by that statement. It deserves more love than it gets. This episode is going into the fantastic tier. Sunny and Hitch's strained friendship being repaired due to an after effect of Sparky's accidental magic is comedy gold. The mania involving Hitch's critters with Izzy, Zip, and Pip struggling to gather them up is the hilarious chaotic energy I strive for in this show. It tells a meaningful moral of understanding a friend's problems by switching their personalities around. It's creative as heck.
I'm sorry. I thought you had it easier than me. You don't.
I'm sorry too.
Alright, call it a rip-off, a royal problem, all you like, but I appreciate this different approach. Shockingly inspired, I would say. Plus, the fact that Opaline's plan actually pays off for once is another positive. This episode has so much to offer for those seeking bigger thrills. The traditional unicorn sleepover. Oh boy, hindsight is a beautiful thing, isn't it? I believe this episode benefits significantly more now than it did in the past. It's another one I've grown fonder of. This episode certainly belongs in good tier. The tense atmosphere of Misty's sleepover in the Bright House provides plenty of laughs and tears, considering how she's practically begging for help against her inner brainwashing. The animated storybook segments are still big chunks of eye candy and keeps your mind racing around. Izzy's delightful role too makes you want to smile for her homesick characterization. Very relatable.
Lay on the ground and stare up at the big branches of bridalwood trees rustling above me. It's what I always did when I felt unsparkly.
However, Zip was still prodding around a bit too much and the pacing could have pumped the brakes on occasionally. Either way, I wouldn't mind being a part of this sleepover for sure. Good stuff. Who've done it? Hindsight was beautiful before, but now it's rather ugly. How I praised Who've Done It years back, and now with more educated eyes, it's fallen from grace the most. This episode is going into average. Don't get me wrong, the deconstruction of Zip's inflated ego is an appealing aspect of the story. It was necessary in this point in time. It still has its comedic moments included, specifically with Izzy's interrogation, but the plot truthfully feels flat. Once you understand that Pip safely took the lantern away, the suspense vanishes and there's genuinely no stakes stakes. Hitch and Sonny's roles are fairly empty and they don't pay off with their thoughts about the Hope Lantern. All we're watching is Zip profiling Misty and, funnily enough, pissing off Maritime Bay. The song Where'd It Go continues to be a banger though. What a pity who've done it. I really liked you. I really did. Have you seen this dragon? This was a good finale for Chapter 2, so of course I have to put it into the good tier. Yet another case of tasty chaotic energy that I live for. Witnessing Hitch's mental dissension without Sparky around was hilarious fun before he ends up becoming Batman. That character development couldn't have concluded with a bang any other way. Despite understanding Sparky is safe with Misty in the basement, both of their engagements together were riveting. It's the one question whether or not Misty will follow through in kidnapping him. Superb suspense. Oh, and Sparky's lullaby, a special tune.
You hear that song?
Excellent musical number to finish up the episode. What else would you have expected from his #1 defender in this entire fandom? This episode was a decent ending to Chapter 2. Undervalued, indeed. Winter Wish Day. My second favourite special out of the 4. Who doesn't love some wintry wholesomeness with a sprinkle of mystery? It's zooming right into good. Introducing the Mare Stream is iconic enough. Or was it first brought in the episode taking flight? Who frankly cares? The flying caravan is gorgeous and a lovely way of expanding this Equestria that bit more. Even if the songs in this special can't garner much of a memorable reputation, the special makes up for it with the enchanting story of how different tribes celebrate wishing times. It can be blisteringly funny too with its abrupt jokes.
We will begin with Act 1 of 6.
6?
Yes!
Somewhat of a slow story, but I believe that's the point. Just enjoy the relaxing ride with barely any thinking required. Give me a warm wishy hoof, because this special was charming. Bridalwood stock. I'm about to light some flames with my placement for the 3rd special. Bridalwood stock is being put into average. Alright, hold up. Let me explain. Imagine building up hype for a music-centric story, having the musical talent of Sophia Wiley under your belt, and the promise of 3 brand new group acts getting to shine, and only 2 songs get played. Oh my god. Iconic is epic though.
Oh yeah.
You had 45 minutes of runtime and you spend it mainly on a mystery that scarcely makes an impact. The characters' dynamics with each other, no matter how passionate or argumentative they were, are the best moments. Particularly with Zip and Hitch investigating with one another. The vibrant visual upgrade in the animation is striking, and giving the Truggles from G1 a dinky comeback was snazzy too. But that's the problem I was outlining to begin with. If you want vibes, this special has got it all. If you want plot and music though, this special has little in that department. Top remodel. Truth be told, this episode makes Izzy Does It look splendid in comparison. This is undoubtedly the weakest first episode, but it's alright. It just doesn't excite me as much, so I'll put it into the average tier. Top remodel mostly satisfies me because it hands Sprout Cloverleaf justly deserved karma for his despicable actions from the movie. You destroy my lighthouse? Well, we will renovate your abandoned factory that you were doing nothing with, and he's complaining. Shut your ass up, Sprout. How can anyone defend him in this episode? However, except for Misty making her own senior butterscotch for emotional comfort, that's all that really happens in this episode. It's just fillery construction. It's okay, but I wanted more of a buzz with Opaline's history with Twilight. That was especially interesting for the intermissions. Top remodel is just there. To some degree, it's forgettable at best. The Jinxie Games. If the first special was bad, this episode lowers the bar even further. Apart from the confirmation of the elderly lovebirds, I am not a fan of this episode. The Jinxie Games is falling into the awful tier. The Jinxie Games feels like the love child of the episodes Feeling Pinky Keen and Equestria Games, which aren't good episodes anyway. The games themselves that are meant to be the driving force of the episode feel extremely underwhelming. Hitch continuing to stumble through each event kept grinding my gears. It's unfair and he was rigged against the entire system.
We finished first!
And Elderflower finished second last year, so we promised her that no matter what, she could be the winner this year.
It's so stupid that Hitch was punched around for comedic value because of a shitty rulebook. The exposition was also annoying when we couldn't see the games at one point and it was all described to us. Apart from Alpha Haven's inclusion and some memorable tidbits, I do not recommend the Jinxie Games at all. It feels like a big chore to watch. Sunny Side Up. This story is a YouTuber's wake-up call. It resonated strongly with me, and even though I was rudely called out, the episode's moral is heartwarming with Sunny and Hitch at the center of it. Sunny Side Up is going up into fantastic. Some long-awaited focus on Opaline exploring the Dragonlands and failing to retrieve the Dragonstone was excellent slapstick humor. We even got a slice of insight into how she thinks and what her mentality is like.
No dragonfire yet?
No problem. For now, I'll just find the one item that will harness its powers even better.
With the backstory established later on of how Misty was brought up, the dilemma of her trapped in the castle alone can be retrospectively hard-hitting. Sunny and Hitch's hijinks in Canterlove Studios and messing around with each other was major amusement for the lesson about letting loose and breaking free of expectations. Even the flashback with young Celestia, Luna, and Opaline still happily surprises me to this day. An absolute field trip this episode is for Chapter 4's halfway point. The Masquerade Ball. Now, this explosion of celebratory magic was bucket loads of merrymaking. In fact, this is my personal favorite episode. The Masquerade Ball finds itself sitting cozily in the best tier. A masquerade ball in Zephyr Heights in honor of all three tribes making peace again? It's a slice of life story made in heaven. Nothing too serious, and yet the plot gets an invitation too for producing one of the most impactful library scenes ever. Mystery at last is unraveling and Misty's timidness breaking down to pluck up courage. What an outstanding twist of character. The visuals are rainbow-fied to the max, the setting is sparkly as hell, the costumes were creative, and not to forget, one of the funkiest and catchiest songs ever, Show Me Your Pony Moves.
Bustin', show me your pony moves.
Oh my goodness me, I fucking love that song. I could easily watch this episode on repeat over and over again and never get bored. A Little Horse. Did you know, FLUFFBUTTS, that Tell Your Tales A Day in the Life and this episode are technically twins? Pip getting sick and spending all day in bed. Very original, G5, well done. No matter, I'd say this one belongs in good. There's not much story meat in this one concerning how Electric Blue were thrown aside when we could have had an awesome rock song from them. Still, I think the characters' performances save this episode from being kind of worthless. How each pony offers their condolences and methods to Pip to bear through her condition was very pleasant. Not to mention how we got more focus on Opaline and Misty's haggard relationship getting ever more broken. When it comes to episodes focused on the main characters getting sick, Read It and Weep from G4 is clearly the better choice, but A Little Horse manages to provide a smile or two. Nice work. Missing the mark. If you're a fan of my channel, FLUFFBUTTS, you would colourfully understand how many times I have praised this masterpiece to the moon and back. Missing the mark is Make Your Mark's magnum opus, so for that fact, obviously, I am putting it straight into the best tier. Chapter 4 couldn't have concluded itself better any other way. This finale was fucking spectacular! I have already compiled all of my thoughts about this finale in another video, so I highly recommend checking out that analysis after this video. Do give it a like, everybody. Do check it out, please. Cutie Blossom Bash. Chapter 5 has the greatest starting episode in the show. What a magnificent beginning to probably the chapter with the most heart. Cutie Blossom Bash dashes right into fantastic. With my choice of best song ever of the generation included, It All Takes Time, and a sincere depiction of Misty's anxiety getting the best of her was remarkable. I adored how Misty defied everyone's expectations of her and how she went out to conquer it her own way. The character development was mad.
All these ponies and all this fuss over me?
Wait, you don't like that?
No.
Also,
giving the Pipsqueaks some worthwhile screen time together was beautiful. Even learning how our darling characters ended up earning their cutie marks. Brilliant scenes at the beginning before it culminates with Misty growing her together tree. Everything flows around one another delightfully with only a few nitpicks. Nevertheless, Cutie Blossom Bash is still a roller coaster of emotions to behold. Family Trees Part 1. I was seriously surprised by the addition of two-parters at this point in the show. An inspiring way to further engage the audience with an expanded story that might as well have been its own special. The first part of Family Trees goes right into the fantastic tier. Answers finally centered around how Misty was kidnapped in the first place. Those flashbacks of hers supplying us with piles of tensity and anticipation for more of Misty's backstory and how Sparky was gonna be healed of his fatigue were really welcoming. It all kept me on the edge of my seat, and Misty's cries did tug on my heartstrings a little. Can't forget about how the Breezies making a breathtaking comeback, and the trek inside the wishing tree was incredible. That's the type of world building I fall in love with. Family Trees has the finer first part out of the pair of two-parters there have been. Family Trees Part 2. Man, all of our hearts were broken by the end of this one. Who cares if the twist reveal was eventually so obvious? It's the build-up to it that makes it terrifically rewarding.
I'm home, Dad.
You are home.
The second part steps up its game, so it deserves a spot in the best tier. Firstly, the main family song is a melancholic bop. Hitch and Misty's singing voices combined makes for such a marvelous listen. The discovery of the Dragonlands being deserted packed quite the punch to showcase Opaline being one step ahead without even explaining it was low-key disturbing. All of that hope created from the paw print fossil and it's ripped away for amazing dramatic effect. Then, yeah, we get to the bit that everybody remembers the most. Alphabettle being Misty's father, and their reunion is tremendously touching. Watergates always lash open upon their embrace. Top tier episode, that's all I'm saying. Father of the Bridalwood. If you thought Family Trees Part 2 was able to tug on your heartstrings, Father of the Bridalwood does the same but adds sliced onions to your eyes. It's exceptionally painful, but in the correct way for the emotional narrative at play. We are going back to back because this episode guarantees a place in the best tier. A sobering family alienation tale that is too realistic. Alfie trying his complete best to hang on to a forgotten memory of his daughter, and Misty struggling to fit into an outdated image of herself. Oh my god, it already makes me want to cry!
Whatever Philly you used to love isn't here anymore. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I didn't realize. I was just trying to show I cared.
The bedroom scene was masterful, and the cuddle afterwards between them, it's so heartedly deserved! We can't forget about Elderflower's cheerful nostalgia trip to perfectly contrast the depression happening in Bridalwood. Plus, learning more about the Together Trees was necessary for viewers intrigued by the lore. What a gigantic win for Father of the Bridalwood. Chapter 5 was on such a roll! Until the next episode came along. Main Smelody. Yep. This is the lowest point of Make Your Mark. The higher the pedestal, the harder the fall, and Chapter 5 fell far when this episode stunk up the place. Main Melody is plummeting straight into the worst tier. 3 plots poorly stitched into one sloppy and awkwardly paced episode. It's sprinting all over the place to make every story element relevant. You don't shove a future plot voucher in the middle of an episode that hardly addresses its importance. It's embarrassing how the stink thistles become the focal point of the story and not the tidbits of the lore that built the groundwork of Chapter 5. How it attempts to relate to our modern humor and influential society is so dire.
Our newest hoof treatment is now a joke online? Oh, my.
The ending turns out to be rather anticlimactic as well, and the resolution is handed to us on a convenient platter. Only Pip Petals and Jazz Hoof's interactions are worth watching in this rubbish. I wish I could say you can skip this episode, but you literally cannot without learning details that'll be important later on in Chapter 6. You're stuck in a stinking pile of garbage that tries to do way too many things too much simultaneously. I hate this episode. Nightmare on Main Street. Being a Halloween fanatic, I knew that this episode was going to be a favourite of mine up front before I even began watching. Although, I was honestly expecting a bit more to come out of this finale to Chapter 5. But it's still good enough to be amusing and shocking. This story gets a spot in the good tier. Opaline took this episode by the helms and made it her own, at the expense of her reputation being laughed at. How every pony was blissfully ignorant at who she really was had me in stitches. Maybe it's a subliminal statement on how the fandom treats her character.
Fear me!
Fear me, butter.
Oh, wait. Is that like your catchphrase?
If so, then that's something clever. I love that juxtaposition between Opaline and the rest of the citizens in Maritime Bay, until that plaster is stripped off like how Posy's butt mark was. Oh yeah, then there's the protagonists just fucking around in their costumes, Misty learns how to get scared, and Sunny cancels everything because it hurt her memory. Boo-hoo! Okay, that was a bit childish, but it's true. Either way, I like Halloween, so this episode I like too. I just like it, alright? Me like. The Isle of Scaly. The second best first episode in the show. Yay! Only problem though, its plot is too basic for such a revolutionary move in the overall arc. It results in being rather middling, so where else to put this episode than in the average tier? Whoa, let me explain again. The introduction of all the dragons was stunning, and marveling at Spike's sudden growth spurt was a grand surprise. His G5 design is good, okay?
Is it okay if I call you Spike?
It would be weird if you called me Fred or something.
Yet the usage of the dragons is minimal, and barely much about their powers gets exhibited to us. Leaf and Lux are left behind doing sweet FA, while Sunny is able to turn around the dragon's doubts with a few sentences. I thought they would put up a fight at least with an argument or two. It's why BLUESKY's song stood out the most in this episode. Oh, and Opaline gets a random song thrown in to extend the runtime, and it's admittedly not as good as her first one. This episode had vigorous aura, but didn't utilize it to the fullest degree. The G5 dragons deserved much more respect and love from all of us. And the writers. Roots of All Evil, Part 1. Finale time! And it was given the two-parter treatment. And arguably, even though the third act is a supreme smoothie of horror and terror, the rest of this episode is pretty restrained. So for that, I'll have to put this into the good tier. Bringing in all the characters that we've gotten to love throughout the years for one last joyride was fabulous. Watching Opaline unleashing her plan was something exhilarating with all the tentacles and cutie mark stealing action, until it decided to go all exposition on us with so much history dumping about Opaline and the Together Trees. Ah, come on, just put me me right back in the middle of the carnage, please. It's like the episode decided to slow down for the second act. We kind of didn't need that. But then, yeah, Hitch's protection of Maritime Bay and fighting Opaline head-on was phenomenal before the cliffhanger results in his cutie mark being taken away.
4 little ponies to go.
What a way to wrap up the episode! I was begging for more afterwards. Roots of All Evil, Part 2. My second favourite episode out of the two-parters. Wowee, I was sweating bricks and tearing rivers by the time the ending came along. You FLUFFBUTTS already know the answer. This episode rises above Part 1 and goes into the best tier. Part 2 is jam-packed with double the amount of destruction from Part 1. Zip and Pip's ingenious plan to distract the monster and save Sunny time. Misty's fiery confrontation with her former mistress was the outbreak of hatred we were all waiting for, and my god, it didn't disappoint.
I have friends! You have to force others to pretend to be your friends. Like me!
Izzy producing some creative havoc of her own in Bridalwood was equal parts funny and frightful. Sunny's own clash of wits and sorcery with Opaline was also astounding, and once the sublime Magic in Us musical number took center stage, all hoofs were on deck, and it was just golden. Sparky Sparkeroni saving the day and defeating Opaline was absolutely deserved. Even the small cliffhanger to make way for the last special was intriguing enough to keep us all hooked for what's coming next. Ah, Roots of All Evil, I love you so much. We all do. And finally, Secrets of Starlight. Here it is, mes and gentle colts, the #1 best special out of the 4. And I feel comfortable expressing that most people would agree with me 100%. We are finalizing this tier list with one last placement in the fantastic tier. Secrets of Starlight is a perfect definition of out with the old and in with the new, as this special could have provided the groundwork for a whole new perspective for G5 to take, only if the higher-ups weren't so greedy. Nevertheless, the last special was a breath of fresh air with the gorgeous Starlight Ridge, an excellent new fluffy antagonist, and a story all about vanquishing deep-rooted fears. The songs were wonderful, the characters were consistently on top form, and the openness of the ending was appropriate considering the circumstances at the time.
We're gonna show you all there is to see in Equestria.
And with Opaline and Allura gone, there's nothing but fun to be had.
Make Your Mark couldn't have concluded itself more suitably than this glamorous special that went against the grain. We forever stan Secrets of Starlight. Thank you for your service. Well, FLUFFBUTTS, that does just about it for my ranking of all the Make Your Mark episodes on a tier list. In case you just want a proper look, FLUFFBUTTS, here is the full thing for all of you to enjoy. What do you think of my choices, everyone? Do you agree with them or not? Do you have any choices that could be down a tier or up a tier or few? Do some episodes I didn't really vibe with deserve to be up higher? Or do some more episodes deserve to be just put down a peg or two? Do leave a comment down below with all your thoughts as well. I want to engage with all of you on this topic because if this video does well enough, I will make a tier list video for all the Tell Your Tale episodes. Damn. That'll be quite the long one, will it? We'll see about that one day if it happens. So get going and like the video right now, everyone. So, FLUFFBUTTS, like I said, be sure to hoof smash that like button down below and comment your thoughts as well on what you thought about my episode choicings. And subscribe to my channel for more stuff like this and many more content coming soon. And also, don't forget to leave a pledge on my Patreon page down in the description below so you can help support me in making these fantastic videos more consistently. And I shall see you all very soon. Goodbye! And just before this video ends, I want to give a huge thank you to all my patrons on my Patreon. My Silver FLUFFBUTT patrons, Starlight Blaze, Sabrina Wade, and Alex Smith, and all my Gold FLUFFBUTT patrons, Drew Lazinski, Clear Heart Apple, Jonathan Chapper, Stephen Cram, Darthsiler22, Dark Cover, Goji Stan, and Lance Dragmeyer. All your love and support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much.